Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and Kemi Badenoch is now saying she's surprised at the racist abuse she's received since becoming Conservative leader. But as Equalities Minister, surely she read lots of papers about racism in Britain. So does Badenoch just have a really short memory? Or is this just another attempt to get herself in the news again because she continues to make zero impact on the public? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So Kemi Badenoch, famous for saying that Britain is the best place to be a black woman, is now saying she's received racist abuse since becoming Conservative leader and is surprised by this. But let's just consider a few things. Before the election, she was Equalities Minister for some time. That meant it was part of her job to be briefed on research into racism in the UK. Was she not doing that job, or did she just not care because the racism she was reading about wasn't directed at her personally? Because I can't actually know what she was told of racism in Britain as Equalities Minister, but I do know something that was very much in the public domain connected to her. During the leadership contest, it was reported in the national news that there were a lot of racist comments coming from her WhatsApp campaign support group. So much so that she had to deny having personal oversight of it herself because the comments were so bad. I mean, you had one comment saying, oh, it's not racist to say Rishi Sunak isn't really British. There was another one admitted being racist by feeling that like they were abroad when they went to London. Famously the most multicultural city in Europe, maybe the world. Comments about black people being illiterate, so bad that Badenoch had to sort of go, I don't personally look at it very much. Proper hive of racism. So why, I hear you ask, were they supporting Kemi Badenoch then? I would suggest because she was more than happy to lean into racist tropes in order to get these very people to vote for her. There was nothing in her ministerial experience that triggered alarms in these people that she ever intended to do anything to improve racial equality in Britain, which was good enough for them. Jenrick may have been white, but many in the Tory party were never really convinced by him switching from centre-right moderate to raging Nazi within such a short span of time. I think there's quite a lot of them are still not really believing it. Badenoch was more consistently a racism denier. But the point is that the racism within her own WhatsApp group, targeting her own party leader amongst others, and in fact there are actually a couple of racist comments about her, the fact that this was pointed out in the national media makes it strange for Badenoch to claim that she's only now just encountered racism in the UK. Mind you, reading the article in the Sunday Times, which is based on an interview with her, she does claim that people calling her lazy are being racist. I mean, maybe there are some racists calling her lazy, but I'm pretty sure most of it are doing so based on the fact she doesn't do any work. Like, she's completely invisible in the political news most weeks, PMQs aside, when it's basically part of a politician's daily job to be seen. So why isn't she using her automatic right to appear on any current affair programme she wants to project an image to the public? I've seen hermits put themselves about more than her. However, she does also allude to genuinely racist attacks against her as well. So why didn't she notice the racism before then? Is she basically saying she has about as much perception as a rotting turnip to have only noticed it since it was directed at her? Or is this just another desperate attempt to say something which might get reported on because she's having a bit of trouble getting noticed in public? I suppose summer's been particularly hard for her because no PMQs to get automatic coverage. And I suppose one way to tell would be, is this just another bit of attention seeking, or has she come to an epiphany? Explore what she intends to do about it. So, okay, you've discovered racism, Miss Badenoch. Right, okay, what are you going to do about that? Now that she realises the fair amount of racism in her party at least, and the public more generally, is she going to acknowledge she's downplayed the issue in the past and work on policies to address it? Let's see now. No policies or any hint that she will work on policies to address racism now that she acknowledges it exists. So she just wanted to complain about it. So why mention it at all? Is it only a problem if she is the target of racism? So it's nothing to do with suddenly realising that racism is a thing, and certainly nothing to do with wanting to tackle it. So let me hazard a little guess here. So I check out the British political news on a daily basis, of course. Which Tory MP has been making news headlines recently? It's not the leader. It's Robert Jenrick, isn't it? Yes, he's often breaking the law with his publicity stunts, but I think we can safely say the party is no longer even pretending to be the party of law and order anymore. And it also has to be said that Jenrick's direction would be an even greater existential risk for the Conservatives than the moves of his would-be predecessors. You know, he is an absolute boon to the Lib Dems in a lot of seats that the Tories held off from them. But he's getting himself in the news. He's even drawn some criticism from Nigel Farage. Badenoch, meanwhile, has been invisible. And in quite a few of the news articles which did mention her this summer, they were really just talking about how Robert Jenrick was positioning himself to replace her. In fact, the article of her interview contained complaints about Jenrick's supporters. Jenrick's clearly getting under her skin. So fearing that she had become irrelevant, she decides that what's needed is an interview where she gets to say how great she is and how stupid everyone else is, because that's what the interview is from start to finish. The fact of the matter is that Badenoch has not been improving the Conservative standing since becoming leader. At the start of 2025, the Conservatives were on 22 in the polls. They're now on 17. You might say, oh, Labour have fallen in the polls this year as well. Absolutely true. A couple of things, though. First, Starmer's in government. He can turn it around with delivery. Indeed, there are lots of things in the works which the public will notice over the next few years. Whether it's enough is another matter, but there are things that are going to change the way public see things. Badenoch cannot deliver anything other than words. Persuasion is literally her only option, and that doesn't take years to bed in. But the second thing is that the reason Labour are doing so badly is because the public are very impatient for change, and it isn't happening quickly enough for them. Reform UK's success is largely down to dissatisfaction with the lack of obvious improvements to people's lives right now. Well, why couldn't the Tories have grabbed some of those dissatisfied votes? Indeed, why have the Conservatives fallen further behind under Badenoch? Whatever damage the Tories did in people's minds, it was done in government. So why is the party continuing to fall in the polls in opposition? She has a party conference in a few weeks' time. Her first as leader. If she doesn't do something real, it could be her last. She has nothing to sell to the party faithful. She consistently underperforms Starmer in the poll of who would make the best Prime Minister. Her party is still behind Labour, who themselves are at their lowest polling since 2019. And Badenoch herself is making no impact on the public. Her biggest rival is making all the headlines, and she's even starting to adopt some of his policies. She may as well go to that conference wearing a white flag. In November, she faces the possibility of a confidence vote. Now, she may not face one that early, because many Tory MPs are wary of the revolving door to the leader's office, making them look chaotic. Besides, I think they're still split on who should actually lead them. There'd be a big difference in direction between Robert Jenrick and James Cleverly, say, or anyone else who pops up. But she has nothing to sell them at the conference. She will claim that she's doing a great job, and the reason the party is doing badly is because of the failure of her predecessors. That is what she says in her interview, which maybe was just a dry run for her conference speech. But it's a nonsense. Yes, her party failed hard in government, but she was in favour of all the policies which caused them to fail. And she has actually lost them standing in the polls since taking charge. The party is in opposition now. Anyone who was prepared to vote for them last year should surely still be happy to do so this year. So why has she lost so many more votes? It's not just that she isn't persuading voters that she has a better plan. That only explains why she hasn't increased Tory support. It's because she's actually convinced voters that somehow she'd be even worse than her predecessors. And announcing that racism suddenly exists after she played her part in denying it as Equalities Minister, saying that people citing it were just making excuses, is just another desperate attempt to seek attention without a coherent plan to use it. The entire interview is just a long list of how great she is, despite her results, and how everyone who criticised her is just bitter that she won. And why does this matter to the rest of us? I don't ever want the Conservatives in power. There was a time when I'd go, oh, Conservatives, 17% in the polls, brilliant. But there is a worse alternative, and it is Reform UK. And Reform UK have grown fat on Tory votes. Labour can win lots of votes back with delivery, as I say. If they succeed, that will win a lot of support back. Polling shows that a lot of people are unhappy with Labour, specifically due to standard of living not improving as promised. But if the NHS and cost of living are in a better place, those same people say they will vote Labour again. So because we know Labour are working on these, I mean, whether they deliver them is another matter, but they have credible plans for them. I've got every confidence more of the public will see things differently in 2027. But that won't do much to dent Reform UK because they mostly consume Tory votes. To avoid a nightmare at the next election, you really need the Tories to be competing with them. The left-wing vote has been split all my life. It will be split way worse in 2029. But will the right-wing vote be split as well? On the current trajectory, the Tories are not even going to be the pragmatic right-wing vote. At which point, what appeal do they have to anyone? Maybe Badenoch would have done better to start with complaints of racism and then use it to position the Tories as a socially responsible right-wing party. That would at least contrast with Reform UK. Give people on the right an actual choice. But no, she was just whining because racism is actually fine by her, as long as she isn't the target. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.